Thank you for joining us this evening. Eventful day, but I'm proud of my chamber. I'm proud of the work of Senator Pugh and many others who joined in to move education forward, both on the public side, the historic investments in public education and in teachers and in the formula, and huge move to empower parents in Oklahoma for private education. I am proud that this body advanced both measures without them being tied together. We removed the tethering together that wasn't necessary. We were threatened a few times throughout this process, or cajoled and said we couldn't do it in the negotiations. We delivered on school choice, and we hope our counterparts across the way do as well. We delivered on up to an $8,000 pay raise for teachers. This body makes me proud every day to be the leader of it, but I'm also proud of it because of people like Senator Pugh, who care so deeply about the future of our state. I'm going to turn it over to him to say a few words and then take any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Again, we just put a historic investment into public schools. Second largest teacher pay raise in the state's history, very close to the largest pay raise in state history, on average $6,754 per teacher, with an additional $3,000 teacher stipend, an additional $3,000 stipend for support staff, which we've heard from school leaders and district leaders that we need bus mechanics and cafeteria workers and HVAC experts. And so this stipend is hopefully a help for those teachers, for those schools to find those experts that are also outside the classroom, which we know make our schools run. And in addition, we just passed, I think, a really good school choice legislation that prioritizes, which is what we've heard from the caucus for several months now, that how do we make sure that the kids who need this the most, how are they prioritized in a piece of legislation that's going to provide them an opportunity, even one kid, and that's really important to me, even one kid, if one kid gets the opportunity to go somewhere and thrive that they currently don't have. This piece of legislation allows that to happen. And we did that in a manner where we sought caucus feedback. We've worked both in the public as well as in our caucus to seek their feedback. So it wasn't my plan or the Pro Tem's plan or any one individual's plan. It was a lot of hard work by a lot of really good members who I think were really invested in this, and I think that was indicative of the vote that we put on the board today.
We'll take any questions you have, mindful that we were going to have to walk in and out on these votes.
So the governor vetoed 20 Senate bills yesterday. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I've got the veto message of one of them in front of me. I am appalled that the governor of the state of Oklahoma, I think it's beneath the dignity of that office to issue the type of vetoes he did. He didn't even attempt to say it was based on a policy difference. He very clearly, in the latter part of all the veto message, which are identical except the bill number, therefore until the people of Oklahoma have a tax cut, until every teacher in the state gets a pay raise they deserve, until parents get a tax credit to send their child to the school of their choice, I am vetoing this, and this is the key word, unrelated policy, and will continue to veto any and all legislation authored by senators who have not stood, he says, with the people of Oklahoma in support of this plan, but interpret that to read, stood with Governor Kevin Stitt. We stand with him on school choice. We just delivered an excellent school choice plan. We just delivered the pay raise he references here, but we did it in a manner that sought input from across the state, not just from advisors.
What do you think this means for the rest of your bills? He's threatening to continue to veto. Do you think this is enough to stop him from doing that, or do you expect more to come tonight?
We will respond accordingly. We have a rules committee immediately after session where we will take up and deny two of his cabinet members, and we will do so in a very strong method, and we will continue, if he continues down this road of killing policy, we will be forced to exercise our constitutional authority as well.
So more
the choice is his. The choice is his. The choice is his. These people are his appointed people. He has chosen to exercise his veto authority. We are choosing to exercise our confirmation authority.
Do you think it's dysfunctional what's going on right now between the governor and the Senate?
I think that it's irrational behavior from the governor, and we responded in a very rational manner. We put together a policy that represents everything he espouses. So hopefully he'll calm down and sober up and get look at this through the lens of policy and not through the lens of emotion.
Why do you think he's so emotional about this? Did the Senate do something to him?
We didn't fall in line, and we are not the fall in line type of people. We have our own thoughts. We're elected by our own people. We agree with him philosophically on many things, and we're proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with him on school choice and delivering a teacher pay raise, but we will not be bullied.
What's the status on the formula funding? Is that just nixed at this point? I must have, forgive me if I missed it.
No, so the $500 million that we appropriated through House Bill 2672 is through the formula. Now there is a provision in there that will ensure that even schools off the formula receive the teacher pay raise. And that was really important for a number of our members, and we ensure that those teachers who are teaching in school districts off the funding formula will still receive that tiered teacher pay raise based on their years of experience. The additional dollars, which is about $150 million, will run through the funding formula, as has been the protocol and the process for the state of Oklahoma to fund public schools for decades.
So that's the per pupil?
That is based on a weighted average daily membership formula.
150 million, so no more
Yes.
$2 million cap? That's
No.
it.
Well, could you run, you said how much of that 500 million is the teacher pay, how much is the?
Certainly. The teacher pay raise is about 300, I believe, about 352 million. I have to calculate FICA, and I have to calculate the OTRS implications and payroll taxes, and so it's about 348, 352. I mean, I can't get the precise number to the penny. And so then it's approximately another 150 million that would run through the formula, apart from the mandated teacher pay raises for schools to address issues that we know they've had. And we know they have them because we've asked them. And I think that's a really important part here. In everything that we've done, it hasn't just been my idea or his idea or any other caucus member's idea. We've actually asked the teachers and the district leaders and superintendents, what do you need? And they said, $5 a gallon of diesel? That crushes my transportation budget. My supplies are up. Costs are up. Electric bills are up. Finding a HVAC expert when I can only pay $17 an hour, and in the private sector they can get $40 an hour. I need that additional operating cash to be able to just address some of those inflationary effects that we've seen in the Biden administration over the last 3 years. And so that additional formula dollars, I hope, will address that.
We also increased the weights on transportation and economically disadvantaged. So that's an important thing that I don't want to get lost. Transportation weight has not been increased since 1983.
Yes.
And economically disadvantaged, again, if we purport to help the poorest among us, this is another way to get that revenue to schools that have higher transportation costs and more economically disadvantaged children, both in rural Oklahoma and in urban Oklahoma.
Is that what's generating the 150 million increase, or is this separate from that?
That's part of
That's
it.
a factor.
Do you view Stitt's plan that was unveiled last Friday as a compromise? Like he
No.
pitches,
No, the Oklahoma Student Fund literally got changed to the Innovation Fund. That was the compromise, is changing the title of the fund that we found so objectionable.
And can you elaborate why that fund was so objectionable? I mean, I think both of you represent urban.
Well,
areas.
on one hand, on the school choice side, our counterparts were saying, treat every kid equal, make sure that there's no income cap, make sure that every Oklahoman qualifies based on our last package. And on the other hand, they're saying, don't treat kids equal. Let's put more money in certain school districts based on political calculations, not on treating kids. The focus should always be on the child. And I am proud to represent a body that both bills, the focus was on the child.
Is any plan that has that 300 million innovation, student fund, whatever you want to call it, in it, or any amount, whether it's 300 million or less, is that a non-starter for the Senate?
We found it objectionable. We had offered a number of alternatives that included funds going through there. They were not willing to budge 1 cent.
This may be already be asked, so excuse the repeat question, but this Rules Committee is meeting later today. There's a few confirmations on that, nominees on that.
There are 2.
What's your intention there?
We're going to reject those nominees. As long as the governor continues to make vetoes about trying to bully us, we are going to show him that we're going to stand up to bullies, and we're going to reject both Corbett and Mariska in today's committee meeting.
Will there be any impact on Oklahomans because of that?
There's impact on him vetoing 20 bills. Some of these bills are extremely important bills that he took no calculation in seeing how does this adversely impact Oklahomans.
How many-
Corbett will still be the director of the healthcare authority. He will not be a cabinet secretary. Mariska will not be a cabinet secretary.
How did you choose these 2 cabinet secretaries to start with?
To start with, we already had some issues with one, and then the other was a decision we made today based off of a lot of conversations. We will continue to schedule Rules Committee meetings in the future if the governor continues to act this way.
You said issues you had with one, are you talking about Mr. Corbett's agency and the FMAP dollars that they had enhanced? Is that what you're referring to?
We have had several issues with that cabinet secretary.
What would
Yes.
those be? What can you
Well,
tell us?
the unveiling of the HIE and how that rollout was, the $600 million that you're speaking of, some interaction with other agencies that fall under the purview of that cabinet secretary. There had been frustration building in my caucus for a while on that. And there's frustration that we cannot land economic development projects, and we need to get the attention of Commerce.
Right, Tim, you guys need to go vote.
Let me go vote, we'll be back.
Sorry.
Didn't know we were gonna go.
If everybody ready to, I guess I'm not ready.
I was gonna ask how many executive noms are still pending before the Senate?
I don't have the total number, but quite a few.
Probably dozens,
More than dozens, yes.
hundreds?
I don't have the actual number. I don't want to guess on that, but
Okay.
it's a number.
Could we chat about what you know, the governor interjected himself because you were unable to get a deal at this point with the House. Now the bills you've sent over to the House, they can reject amendments and in the conference, but now the pressure is sort of back on the House to review the changes you had today. You're unhappy with the governor. How do you feel about Speaker McCall right now, and what do you think the chances are that they accept these amendments?
Well, we reached out to our counterparts in good faith to try to see if they would delay and agree to extend the joint deadline on bills so we could let cooler heads prevail. We were soundly rejected. Shortly thereafter, because our bills are just fodder now. I mean, they're going to be slaughtered by the governor if he continues down the path that he has laid out. So we felt it important to say, hey, let's let cooler heads prevail. So we reached out to our counterparts and requested that they honor the legislative process and allow us to delay that deadline to get bills from the opposite chamber off the floor. We were rejected on that. And then shortly thereafter, I read an article where the speaker was quoted as saying that the governor and him have been talking, and the governor, once all this passes, will be fine with override. So it's obviously coordination between the two of them. We are not happy with our counterparts. We know we're mature adults. We know we have to work with them to get things done. We are not satisfied with their level of not wanting to extend the courtesy to fellow legislators. Their bills are getting hurt too. When I run a House bill, I'm as passionate about most of those House bills as I am Senate bills. Not all of them, but a good number of them. Those are real people being impacted by those bills. So not only are people being adversely impacted by the vetoes potentially, House members that are the principal author and or co-authors are being summarily dismissed by the governor as well. We were hoping to appeal to the other body as legislators. Let's let cooler heads, and they chose to partner with the governor. So not happy.
Pro Tem, you got another vote.
Yeah, I'm excited every time people come back. We were talking about the vetoes, and I was wondering if we could ask you about the veto on HB 2820, which was the OETA reauthorization bill. He noted at the bottom of it, he said, the OETA's long-term strategic value is at best unclear, if not outright imagined. And I just didn't know whether either of you was big fans of, British detective movies, or what is your feeling on OETA?
I'm not a big fan of British, whatever you said. However, I have not actually reviewed in depth the vetoes to bills that he made on a policy consideration, because on House bills he gave them the ability to look at what he felt that he judged their merits or lack thereof. On Senate bills he didn't extend the same courtesy. It's just an overtly political bullying tactic, and so I have not reviewed those yet. I know that in the past when we've had those kind of continuations on OETA, in my younger years of legislating, I got called into this office by the then pro tem because I voted against the extension of the OETA sunset. And I was told that at that time at least that the towers were critically important to DPS and others. The license that was held by OETA was an FCC license that was non-transferable. And so they asked me not to be flippant in my vote. So I went back and voted for it. This probably 2011, 12, somewhere around there. And so ever since then I have supported its continuation based on knowledge that the pro tem at the time imparted to me.
Do you think there will be a change?
But I don't know about that bill in particular.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you think there will be a chance to override some of these vetoes, any of these vetoes?
Well, we have made a decision on the Senate side. We overrode 4 or 5. I can't recall the actual number. 4, thank you. But we are empowering the House to hold that over the governor's head now to say, continue to be on our side or we will pull the trigger, and we're not going to give them any more ammo right now. We have until the end of this legislature, which would be at the conclusion of sine die next May, not this May, but next May, to consider those. Hopefully cooler heads will prevail and the House will come on alongside us. They passed them. They passed most of those with overwhelming majorities, just like us. If the governor has a legitimate issue, which is sometimes his staff catches, we're very open to looking at those veto messages, but we want to be treated with respect and dignity, that our members put a ton of effort into passing those to his desk. They dealt with a ton of constituencies. It was not a flippant move like his veto messages have been.
Probably time for a couple more after that.
Up, so I think I heard Alex say a couple more, but I seriously have two or three more bills to run, so, that are based on policy ideas.
I'll go quick then. Tensions are obviously very high right now. Teachers are watching this, parents are watching this, concerned that they might not get a pay raise, not have parent choice. With everyone watching this right now, I know it's kind of hard to answer this right now, but is there an end in sight? What is the next move for a possible maybe resolution?
I'll let Adam take a stab at it after I take a stab at it, but I think the people of Oklahoma should see the seriousness that we just had on the floor about those two bills. There's a lot of thought, a lot of meetings, a lot of ideas that both the House and the governor had. For instance, on the homeschool credit, we went to the House's new number on that. We went to where the governor is. They wanted no cap. We said, okay, but we have to have a progressive nature to it, just like the governor did. We modified some of those and we pushed it to the people who could least afford it. And on teacher pay, they have espoused publicly several times how important it is to get teachers a pay raise. We just found a way to give more money to teachers. So I would say to teachers, to parents, have hope. The Senate heard you loud and clear. The Senate delivered on your request. We hope that the House will do the same. They line up, at least with what they have delineated, except the Oklahoma Student Fund, very nicely. And I think that Oklahomans know that we're serious about delivering on that. I hope our counterparts are.
If I could add, because I think it's really important to note, in House Bill 2672, 46 yes votes, no votes. A bipartisan investment in education, the largest in Oklahoma's history. That's not what the results were on the other side of that building. So not only did we work with our own caucus, I mean, we sought him, I mean, I run the education committee. I daily get input from the members on the education committee and the minority caucus that just supported that investment in Oklahoma's public school system. And I think that's a really important distinction in our plan. And as the pro tem mentioned, untethered, two pieces of legislation not tied to each other, but individual pieces of legislation to be considered on their merit, in addition to things that we have once again said are a priority: maternity leave, teacher mentorship, reading specialists, and reading proficiency, and increasing literacy rates across the state of Oklahoma. I hope that teachers and parents and kids and school leaders and advocates across the state look at not just what we did here, but this is now 9 months of work that I know a lot of people in the public eye haven't seen. That my members have been working hard in their district and with their school leaders and in caucus and in committee and in closed door meetings with whoever would come and want to talk about education. And I hope we've been able to properly convey, how important this is and how serious we are about these issues with the 2 votes that we've done tonight.
I just want to note that he's bragging on his vote count. Mine was 36, which was pretty good and historic for school choice, untethered from anything else. And so I noticed that little snub.
If, real quick, I noticed that
It's
there.
probably the last one.
Yeah.
Wait, is the vote still open?
Doesn't speak.
No.
Sounds
No.
like it.
Okay.
I'll try to be quick. 2 separate bills. If the speaker's position is potentially that his caucus doesn't have the votes on a standalone measure regarding.
The speaker told me this week, send me a standalone school choice bill. The governor said, send me a standalone school choice bill. We have delivered on both of their requests.
They told you that went Tuesday?
Tuesday and then, Tuesday. Both of those were on Tuesday.
Okay, so it's possible they advanced them separately.
Unless they were just bluffing and being rhetorical and not being honest with what they wanted. They told me, send us a school choice bill that is not tethered to another bill if you can do it. And we just did it.
All right, Mr. President, I think we got to get
Thank you.
back up there.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.